What's up, adventurers? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, the Green Knight. This is my co-host and research assistant, Bartholomew. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you know when these videos drop and when I go live for my midnight walks or my midnight video game streams. Now, as a recovering neckbeard, I have a unique perspective on these kind of stories. And Glenn is a particular example of the people who are super dedicated to their job at these kind of theme parks. So, without further ado, let's dive on into some r/neckbeard stories, Cringe. Don't Hug the Mascots, number 2. The Bee Head. I work at a theme park. I walk next to a man in a possum suit. I've been doing this for 1 week. In that week, I have learned the following. Glenn takes 3 sips from his water during breaks. Not 2, not 4, 3. Glenn folds his granola bar wrappers into perfect squares. Glenn has a set of hand signals more complex than anything I learned during my entire orientation. And Glenn does not consider Markey to be a costume. Markey is Markey. I made the mistake of calling it a possum suit on my first day, and the look he gave me still visits me in my sleep. This is what happened during week 2. So, the Bee Head. I need to explain something about the heads before we get into this. At Adventure Cove, the main characters have multiple copies of their headpieces. This is practical. Heads get damaged, they get sweaty, sometimes they need repairs that take a few days. Markey has 3 heads in rotation. Glenn has designated them A, B, and C. These are not official designations. Nobody in management calls them that. There is no paperwork anywhere in the park that distinguishes between Markey heads. They are, to every single person on the payroll except Glenn, identical. They are not identical to Glenn. The A head is Glenn's primary. It's the one he was brushing during my orientation. He considers it the definitive Markey. The paint on the nose is slightly warmer than the others, which Glenn attributes to a specific batch of paint used during a 2019 touch-up that he personally supervised. The grin is, according to Glenn, 2 millimeters wider on the left side, which gives Markey a mischievous quality that's core to the character.
You serious?
I have looked at all 3 heads side by side. They are the same head. I will die on this hill. They are the exact same head. Glenn would die on the opposite hill, and his hill has a PowerPoint presentation. The B head is the backup. It gets used when the A head is being prepared, or when there's a second Markey appearance running simultaneously at a different part of the park. Birthday parties, different events, stuff like that. I once made the mistake of asking Glenn which head he preferred between A and B. "That's like asking me which lung I prefer," he said. "So they're the same?" "No, one of them works better, but I need both." He then spent 4 uninterrupted minutes explaining that the B head's eyes are slightly too far apart, which gives Markey a vacant look that undermines his intelligence. Markey is a possum in a backwards baseball cap. I did not say this out loud. I am learning. The C head is for emergencies only. Glenn considers it an abomination. It was manufactured by a different vendor in 2012, and the fur color is slightly off. "It's Markey's Uncanny Valley," Glenn told me once, unprompted, while we were eating lunch. "Glenn, do you hear yourself when you talk?" "What do you mean?" Never mind, pass the ketchup. Now that you understand the head hierarchy, I can tell you what happened on the Tuesday of my 2nd week. I walked into the morgue at 7:30 as usual. Glenn was already there, as usual. But something was wrong.
It's wrong.
He was standing in front of the Markey section of the garment rack, completely still, staring at the shelf where the heads lived. His arms were at his sides. His granola bar was unopened on the bench. An unopened granola bar from Glenn was the equivalent of a red alert klaxon on a submarine. "Morning," I said. Nothing. I put my bag down and walked over to where he was standing. I followed his gaze to the shelf. The A head was there, pristine as always, grinning its frozen grin. The C head was there, slightly wrong, grinning its slightly wrong grin. The space where the B head usually sat was empty. "Where's the B head?" I asked. Not because I cared, but because the silence was starting to creep me out. Glenn spoke without turning around. His voice was flat, controlled. The kind of controlled that's the opposite of calm. Someone checked it out. Okay, for what? A birthday party yesterday while I was off. I waited for the rest. There had to be the rest, because so far all I was hearing was that a piece of park equipment had been used for its intended purpose on a day when Glenn wasn't working. This seemed, to my civilian brain, like a normal thing that would happen at a theme park. Heads exist, parties exist, someone put them together. Circle of life. Glenn finally turned to look at me. Did you know about this? Man, I've been here a week. I don't know about anything. I don't know where the good vending machine is. I don't even know the Wi-Fi password. I definitely don't know who took your head. He studied my face for a moment, searching for deception in the way you'd search a room for a hidden camera. He must have been satisfied because he turned back to the shelf and said, They didn't log it. There was a sign-out sheet for character equipment. You were supposed to write down which piece you took, when you took it, and when you returned it. It was a clipboard hanging on the wall by the door. I had seen it. I had never seen anyone actually use it. Nobody logs that stuff, Glenn. Wrong thing to say. He wheeled on me with an intensity that made me take a step back. Not aggressive, just focused. Like a spotlight had swiveled into my face.
Seal all exits. Attention.
That's the problem. That's the exact problem. No one respects the process. Somebody took the B-head out for a party without signing it out, without checking the maintenance log, and without consulting me about whether it was ready for public appearance. Consulting you? You weren't even here yesterday. Exactly, which is why they should have called me. On your day off? Yes. To ask permission to use a foam head. To ask whether the B-head was cleared for appearance. Yes. Glenn, it's a backup head. That's what backup heads are for. It backed up. It backed up without protocol? Let me say it again so it sinks in. Glenn believed that the park should have called him at home on his day off to ask permission to use a backup possum head for a child's birthday party. He was standing in the morgue at 7:30 in the morning with his granola bar going stale on the bench because someone had failed to phone him about a foam head, and he considered this a reasonable grievance. I should have laughed. I should have told him that he was being ridiculous. I should have said, Glenn, there are 3 of them. One went to a party. It came back. Nobody died. Eat your granola bar. That would have been the correct and rational response. Wait, it came back? I thought it wasn't there. Whatever. Instead, I said, so what do you want to do about it? I don't know why I said that. Some part of my brain, some stupid, curious, self-destructive part, wanted to see where this went. I was a week into this job, and already the most entertaining thing about it was watching Glenn be Glenn. Everything else was standing in the sun, managing lines of sweaty families. Glenn was at least interesting. Unhinged, but interesting. His eyes lit up. Not in a happy way, in the way that a man's eyes light up when he's been waiting for someone to take him seriously, and someone finally has. He pulled out his phone and started scrolling through the photos. He had photos of the heads, dated, cataloged, close-up shots of the paint, the fur, the interior foam. He swiped to a photo of the bee head taken the previous week, and then held up his phone next to the actual shelf where the bee head had since been returned. Okay, so at some point, the bee head went from missing to returned. I guess, montage rules?
And show us a passage of time, we're gonna need a montage.
We can infer that it came back at some point. Somehow, the bee head returned. Look at this! He pointed to a spot on the left side of the bee head's jaw. I leaned in. There was a faint smudge. It might have been frosting. It might have been sunscreen. It might have been nothing. That wasn't there last Tuesday. Someone either let a kitten touch the face, or the handler wasn't managing the queue properly. Glenn, it could be anything. That could just be dust. Dust doesn't smear. How do you know it's smeared? Maybe it landed that way. Dust doesn't land in arcs. That's an arc? It's a 1/4 inch long. It's a 1/4 inch smear. It follows the contour of the jawline, which means someone's hand dragged across it. Probably a kid. Probably during the party. Probably because the fill-in handler didn't know what they were doing. I looked at the smudge. I looked at Glenn. I looked at the smudge again. A 1/4 inch mark on the jaw of a foam head that lived in a room that smelled like the inside of a shoe. And this man had photographic evidence of its prior condition and was performing forensic analysis on it with the intensity of a detective working a cold case. Are you going to report this? I already emailed Dale. Dale is the operations manager. Dale cares about guest satisfaction scores and not getting yelled at by regional. Dale does not care about smudges on foam possum heads. I knew this, and Glenn knew this, and it didn't matter because Glenn had already sent the email. He showed it to me. It was 4 paragraphs long. It included the before and after photos. It referenced the sign-out sheet policy by page number from the employee handbook. It CC'd 2 people I didn't recognize. Who are the CCs? Lorraine in wardrobe and the regional character integrity coordinator? There's a regional character integrity coordinator? Yeah, I bet they really care about their job. They're supposed to be. That email address hasn't bounced yet, so I assume someone's reading them. Dude, nobody's reading them. Glenn, has anyone ever responded to that email address? A pause. Not yet, but that doesn't mean they're not monitoring it. Yes, it does. You're the only one who gives this much of a shit, buddy. It was the most thorough piece of professional communication I had ever seen, and it was about a birthday party smudge on a pretend possum's chin. I made a mental note to never ever get on this man's bad side, because if he brought this energy to a foam smudge, I cannot imagine what he'd bring to an actual grudge. That rhymes. We suited up for the morning shift, or rather, Glenn suited up and I watched. His process was precise. He had a specific order. Legs first, torso, gloves, and then the head.
And I'll form the head!
Before the head went on, he inspected it, turned it over, checked the interior padding, adjusted something near the chin strap. He had a small spray bottle that he misted the inside with. What's that? My solution. Your solution to what? It's my cleaning solution. What's in it, though? It's proprietary. It's proprietary? You have a proprietary cleaning solution for the inside of your mascot head? It keeps the foam in good condition and manages the bacterial load. Oh boy. Glenn, it's a mascot head, not a biohazard containment unit. Glenn, what is in the bottle? He held it up and looked at it, then back at me. Water, white vinegar, a little tea tree oil, and a drop of lavender. It's just some cleaning solution? Like, it's just basic homemade cleaning solution? That's what my mom uses to clean her countertop. Your mom has good instincts. He sprayed the head, put it on, and Glenn disappeared. Same magic trick as the first day. The forgettable man replaced by the bouncing, head-tilting, grinning possum that kids sprinted towards. We walked out into character lane, and the shift began. 15 minutes in, something happened that I didn't expect. A woman in a birthday girl's mom t-shirt approached the meet and greet line with a little girl, maybe 5 or 6, who was wearing a Markey t-shirt and a Markey headband with possum ears. The kid was vibrating with excitement. When it was her turn, she ran up and hugged Markey around the waist and screamed, "Markey, I saw you at my party yesterday!" Glenn froze. Not character pauses for comedic effect froze, actually froze. His arms, which had been rising for the standard big surprise gesture, stopped midair. His whole body went rigid inside the suit. From where I was standing, I could see his gloved hands clench. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to notice. Then, like a machine rebooting, Markey came back to life. He patted the girl on the head, he did the little hip wiggle, he posed for the photo. He was perfect. The mom cried. Moms cry a lot at this park, I was learning. The girl waved goodbye and said, "See you next year, Markey," and moved on. When we got back to the fishbowl for the break, Glenn pulled the head off and sat down. He didn't ask for notes. He didn't take his 3 measured sips. He just sat there, staring at the bee head on the shelf across the room, which is visible through the glass because the fishbowl looks directly into the hallway that leads to the morgue. Like the architects designed it specifically so the performers could stare at the source of their nightmares during their 15-minute rest period. "She hugged a stranger," he said quietly. I was mid-sip on my water bottle. "What?" "That little girl. She hugged Markey yesterday, and she hugged Markey today. She thinks it was the same person, but it wasn't me yesterday." Bro thinks he's the Markey. Like, dude, you know how many different friends these characters have? You're not the only one who plays Markey, and there's probably more than one Markey around at the park at any given time. They just try to keep them like away from each other so that it maintains the illusion that there's only one Markey. But dude, you're not the only one. Glenn, "Whoever did that party, that fill-in, they took that from her. She's gonna grow up remembering her birthday, Markey, and it wasn't even the real one." See, right? Like, that's why they all learn the same gestures and the same patterns of behavior. Like, all these characters have their own mannerisms that the actors learn so that everyone looks exactly the same when they're out there playing these characters. You're not the Markey, you're just a Markey. There isn't a real one, man. It's whoever's in the suit. He looked at me. Like I just said the earth was flat. Oh my god, don't even get me started on that shit. Not angry, just deeply, fundamentally unable to comprehend how I could believe something so wrong. "You don't understand yet," he said. "You will. I know you're expecting me to say that I pushed back harder, that I told him he was insane, that Markey is a character and anyone can play him, and a 5-year-old doesn't know the difference. And you'd be right. Those are all true things. But here's what actually happened. I watched this man, this sweaty, exhausted man with his hair plastered to his forehead and his eyes rim red from the heat. And he wasn't angry. He was sad. Genuinely, quietly, deeply sad. He believed on a level that I couldn't access that the fill-in had stolen something from that little girl. Not the hug, not the moment, something deeper. Some authenticity that only Glenn could provide because Glenn was Markey and Markey was Glenn. And anybody else wearing the suit was a lie that the park was telling to children.
You sit on a throne of lies.
It was the most delusional thing that I had ever seen a person believe, and it was also the most sincere. I sat there in the fishbowl with the foam possum head grinning at me from across the hallway, and I thought, this man is completely out of his mind. And also, this man cares about his job more than I have ever cared about anything in my entire life. And I didn't know which of those things was sadder. I didn't say any of the things I was thinking. I just said, "You want to hear the notes from your shift?" He looked at me. Something shifted behind his eyes. It wasn't gratitude exactly. It was more like recognition. Like I'd passed a test that I didn't know I was taking. "Yeah," he said. "Give me the notes." So I did. I told him the cue flow was smooth. I told him there was one moment where a dad approached from the blind side and I redirected him. I told him the energy was consistent. I made all of it up. I had not been paying close enough attention to give real notes. But he listened to every word like I was reading scripture, and when I was done, he nodded once and said, "Good, that's good. Tomorrow we work on your positioning during the photos. You were half a step too far back." Yeah, I was half a step too far back from the correct position for standing next to a possum at a theme park for $14 an hour. "Copy that," I said. He picked up his water bottle. 3 sips. He folded his granola bar wrapper into a perfect square. He looked at the A-head on the bench, and I swear I saw his expression soften. Just a fraction. The way you'd look at a friend after a long day. We had 3 more rotations that afternoon. They were all flawless. After the last one, Glenn suited down in the morgue, and placed the A-head back on its shelf with both hands and adjusted it so the grin was facing outward. He turned to me on his way out the door. Dale never responded to my email. Shocking. He'll probably blow it off. They always do. So I'm gonna start a log. Every time a head is checked out, who took it, when, what condition it's returned in. I'll do it myself since nobody else will. And you're keeping this log where, Glenn? On the wall? In a spreadsheet? A binder with dividers. 1 section per head. Obviously. Bro takes this shit way too seriously. Color-coded. I would have been disappointed if it wasn't. The A-head section will be blue. The B-head is green. And C-head is red because it's essentially a hazard. You're giving the emergency head a hazard color. It is a hazard. Have you ever looked at the fur on that thing? It's a full shade darker than A and B. If a guest with any kind of visual awareness sees Markey in the C head and then sees Markey in the A head on the same visit, the illusion is completely broken. That's not a backup, that's a liability. Oh, like you're gonna wound a child's mental health because Markey's fur is a slight shade different? Put the C head on the float or whatever on the parade so that you can't see it from a distance. Like, come on, man. Glenn, no one is going to notice a slightly different shade of fur on the possum they've seen for 3 seconds. You'd be surprised. Kids notice everything. They're more perceptive than adults. A kid once told me that Markey's nose looked different today, and she was right because it was the B head and the paint was a quarter shade cooler. A quarter shade? Is that even a thing? I thought there was just like very minute shades. I didn't realize there was like a quarter. Man, these kids are more versed in color theory than I am. Glenn, I'm begging you to hear how that sentence sounds out loud. She was 6. 6-year-olds don't lie about color temperature. Oh yeah, because they're so versed in color theory. Holy shit. He said all this with the cadence and conviction of a man presenting to a board of directors. A binder with color-coded dividers, organized by Possum Head, with photographic evidence and apparently the corroborating testimony of a 6-year-old color theory expert. Maintained by a single man in his mid-30s who lived alone and spent his days off thinking about what might be happening to the B-head without him there to protect it. Sure, Glenn, I said. A binder. Makes total sense. He nodded, satisfied, and walked out the door. I stood alone in the morgue for a minute. The heads stared at me from the shelf. A head in the center, immaculate. B head returned to its rightful position, smudge and all. The C head, far right, apparently a liability to both the park and the children it served. All 3 grins, all 3 exactly the same, and all 3, according to Glenn, profoundly different. I turned off the lights and walked to Lot B. Marco was already out there, sitting on the tailgate of his pickup, smoking. Marco is another handler, been at the park 2 seasons longer than me. He's the guy who tells you the things that nobody else will, usually in a tone that suggests he's given up on caring whether you believe him. I'd spoken to him a handful of times during orientation week. He always looked like a man who is one bad shift away from walking into the ocean. Dude, listen to this guy. If there's someone who's been around at your job, like, for a really long time, they've seen all the shit and they know exactly how to deal with it. Whether it's in the handbook or not, they know the tricks.
I was there, Gandalf.
I hopped up on the hood of my car next to his truck. Hey, what do you know about Glenn? Marco took a drag and blew it out slow. What did he do? He's got photos of all 3 Markey heads on his phone, dated, organized. He found a smudge on the B head this morning and emailed Dale about it, with before and after pictures. He CC'd someone called the Regional Character Integrity Coordinator? Marco laughed. Not a happy laugh. A laugh of recognition. He still emails that address. You know about it? Everyone knows about it. That email goes nowhere. It's a dead inbox from when corporate ran a character quality program like 6 years ago. They shut it down. Nobody told Glenn. Or maybe they did tell him, and he doesn't care. He sends something to that address like once a month. So he's been writing letters to Santa for 6 years? Last Christmas he sent them a 12-page proposal to give Markey a holiday storyline. Bullet points and everything. Nobody wrote back. He told me they were still reviewing it. Marco, that is the saddest thing I have ever heard. Stick around, you get sadder. He stubbed his cigarette on the tailgate. Did he tell you about the binder? My stomach dropped a little. He mentioned starting one. Starting one. Marco looked at me and the corner of his mouth twitched. That's adorable. He's got 3 of them in his trunk, going back years. Every head, every checkout, every smudge, every scratch. Photos, dates, handwritten notes in the margins. One of them has like 100 pages in it. Man, the man wrote a novel about foam. And it has tabs. We sat there for a second, letting the phrase possum head documentation exist in the air between us. Should I be worried? I asked. Marco lit another cigarette and thought about this. Worried? Nah, he's not dangerous. He's just... He trailed off, searching for the right word. He didn't find it. Okay, you know how some guys build model trains in their basement? Like full little towns with tiny people and tiny trees. They spend their whole weekends painting tiny mailboxes. Yeah. Imagine that, but instead of a model train, it's a possum. And instead of a basement, it's your place of work. And instead of painting tiny mailboxes on the weekend, he's maintaining forensic records of foam head blemishes on company time. That's not reassuring. It's not supposed to be. He took a drag. One more thing. Yeah? Don't ever touch the A head. I wasn't planning on it. Good. Keep it that way. Last handler who touched the A head without Glenn's explicit permission got transferred to the parking lot duty for 2 months. Glenn got him transferred? No. That's the thing. The guy requested it. Said he'd rather direct traffic in the sun than deal with what Glenn put him through after he touched the head.
Sometimes that is better.
What did Glenn do to him? Marco hopped off his tailgate and grabbed his keys. Ask around. Everyone's got a version. None of them are the same and all of them are bad. He climbed in his truck, then leaned out the window. Hey, welcome to Adventure Cove. Holy shit. Guy's got lore. Guy's like a cryptid or like a urban legend. That's insane. Thanks. I'm not congratulating you. He drove off. I sat on my car hood for a while longer, watching the sun go down behind the maintenance shed. Somewhere inside that park, 3 foam possum heads sat on a shelf in a room that smelled like the inside of a shoe, grinning identical grins into the darkness. One of them had a smudge on its jaw. One of them was apparently a liability to children's understanding of color temperature. And one of them, the one in the center, the one with the grin that was allegedly 2 millimeters wider on the left, was the most important object in the life of a man named Glenn. I was 2 weeks into this job. I'd find out what happened to the last handler the following week. But that, like everything else around here, is a story for another day. Yeah, this guy takes his job just way too seriously. But, I mean, I admire the dedication to the craft. Like, I do understand if you work in a job where you wear a costume and there's multiple versions of that costume, you will gravitate to one that's like your favorite. But to be that insane about the colors and stuff like that and like the very minute details that most people don't even notice, that's insane. Like, I understand, oh, this one fits me a little better and is more comfortable to wear. That's fair. But that's just way too much detail, man. Like, this guy needs a hobby outside of work, but it sounds like he's just dedicated his whole life to playing this character and will probably do it until he ages out or just can't do it anymore, because I guess it doesn't matter how old you are inside that suit. But man, if that's your life's ambition, then all the more power to you, Glenn. I just feel bad for OP having to deal with someone who's so nitpicky, because that can be really frustrating too. But that's going to do it for me and Bartholomew tonight. I hope you guys had fun listening to the story. I'm looking forward to finding out the mysterious happenings in the next story, like the legendary story of what happened to the last handler. And that should be coming up fairly shortly. Don't forget to like and subscribe, ring the notification bell so you know when that comes out and when I go live for my walks. But for now, I hope you guys are drinking lots of water, doing lots of push-ups, and stay safe. Till next time.